All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to another great episode on your favorite political talk show, The Truth, with Ben Jokes. Kano farmers and CSOs have demanded a ban on GMOs, urging authorities to adopt agroecology as a sustainable farming alternative. Kano Farmers Association, in collaboration with the Health of Mother Earth Foundation, have cautioned the federal government and other farmers groups on adopting genetically modified organisms as a solution for food security and soil restoration. After a 2-day practical agroecology training and stakeholder engagement in Kano on Thursday, the groups described the adoption of GMOs and synthetic pesticides as a false solution to the food and climate crisis. Now, this GMO issue is one issue that must never be politicized. People must not see it as an attack on the APC or on TINUBU administration. Yes, I do not like the APC and TINUBU administration, but my attack on GMOs has nothing to do with that. GMOs are not good for Nigeria. The foods are not healthy. They have been heavily linked to diseases such as kidney diseases, heart attacks, cancers, and all. And that is why they have been rejected in so many countries of the world, countries that are far more developed than Nigeria. Our food crisis can be solved if governments would be committed and dedicated to food production. Yes, there is insecurity, but we still have vast arable land that can be massively cultivated and Nigerians will be fed. GMOs must be massively rejected. Now, let us get to the top stories. First is that disgraceful utterance coming out of the Ministry of Education. This one shocked Nigerians and to a large extent brought shame on those who had trust in the TINUBU administration. And next is that update that shows another wave of massive defection of APC members out of the party as a result of the failure of the TINUBU administration. And this one is particularly interesting because it is another story that brought shame upon those who went through the wire to see that TINUBU was announced winner in Zamfara state. Now they are regretting throwing support for him. Before I show you details of these top stories and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly show you this video. Dr. Sam Amadi and co are doing a fantastic job on the push for electoral reforms in Nigeria. Watch this video.
That's a good point. So what we have done differently is to say narrow it to 4 things, okay, or 5. They will show the problem and we draft the amendment to the section. That's number 1. So it's easy to do. So you don't need to have, if you get the idea, you fix it there. Second is that the political process is important, and this meeting we invited the APC chairman, we invited the Labour Party, PDP. Did
they show up?
They show the promise. Labour sent delegate, but the promise. That's the second thing is that we think that was a correct national action plan. We think that with NLC and TUC being they were part of this process. And I was saying the mistake in the past that we have made electoral reform a NGO-based activity. The guys who have skin in the game, the political parties, should lead electoral reform. Opposition party, and that's why I fought them. Secondly, we said Labour, NLC and TUC, no matter what you talk about Labour is the only civic organization that has capacity to impose costs. So we have now saying Labour, take this up in your Congress, in your highest decision-making body. Make these simple steps a matter of Labour demand for federal government. Constitute into industrial relationship with the federal government. Because Labour is fighting over minimum wage. They are looking at the downstream. The real upstream is politics. If the incentive structures are wrong politically, then you can't get the socio-economic thing you want. So Labour is now on page saying we can now go to the federal government and say this is doable, this is politically neutral, this is not about opposition. And again, we make a mistake. We look at electoral reform as an electoral cycle thing. So if TINUBU does not sign up, then after 2027 we're down to close to 2031. No, Nigeria will live for the next 200, 300 years, God willing. It simply means that even if this government rejects this, we still have more elections. The nation is not going to disappear. Okay. So we are long-distance runners, but we start with the diagnosis of the crisis and build a social science methodology that says this is the election is not election is within a political economy. So what are the incentive structures? And it's very simple. The last point I want to make: the judiciary in this report is the lock-up point. You know why I say that? Why? If judges begin to cancel elections that are flawed, it signals to everybody that it's no longer cost-effective to manipulate. You spend 3 billion and buy voters, and the judge knocks you off. What's the point?
You saw that. Whenever I hear anybody talking about electoral reforms, I instantly fall in love with that person, because that is what I believe should be on the lips of every patriotic Nigerian right now: electoral reforms. And I love what he said about electoral reforms being a seasonal thing in Nigeria. It is only when election comes, or when we are getting towards election year, that people begin to talk about electoral reforms. But electoral reforms are as important, if not more important, than anything else if we are talking about national development, because credible elections are the basis for a strong democracy. And he said the Nigeria Labour Congress should take it up. They should take it up as a demand: electoral reforms, particularly the transfer of election results from polling units to the IREF. And he said opposition parties should carry it on their heads. And this is what I have been saying. They have to champion it even more than this issue of zoning and candidacy that they are talking about. This is not about politics. This is not about being against anybody. We are looking for credible electoral process in Nigeria. And if it is signed into law that results should be transferred from polling units to the IREV, even Tinubu will go into the record books as the man who signed the most important item on electoral reforms into law. So it becomes a huge credit for him. These are some of the arguments that the opposition should put up. They should be the ones to be at the center championing this electoral reform. Yes, we know that we are trying to use it to get the APC out of power in 2027. But believe me, it is bigger than that. If we are looking at building this nation, if we are looking at getting it right as a people, then we must be keen on electoral reforms, because that is the only way we can have credible elections. And without credible elections, you can never build a nation democratically. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that one coming out of the Ministry of Education. The minister made a statement that shocked Nigerians. And next is that update that shows another wave of massive defection from the APC. This time around, it comes along with a shameful story of those who broke their back to rig elections for Tinubu in Zamfara state. Now they are regretting and they have dumped the APC. Let's start by taking that update from the Ministry of Education. Look at how the papers reported it. Now, the background to this update is in this short clip that I'm going to show you. The Minister of Education, Alausa, said in this video that the federal government has never signed any agreement with ASU. But ladies and gentlemen, he has now come out to deny saying it. Watch this video.
But let me clear this point of correction out. The Solicitor General looked into the agreement. The government has never signed any agreement with ASU. These are draft. This was a draft agreement. The 2021 agreement was not executed by the government. So I need to be honest and truthful to Nigeria. ASU might have the impression that if they have an agreement with government, there was no signed agreement with government.
You saw that. That was the Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, there saying that the federal government has never signed any agreement with ASU. Now he has come out to deny saying what you just heard him say on TV. Look at this. Nigeria's education minister backtracks, denies saying no agreement signed with university lecturers. ASU. The Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, has denied saying that there was no signed agreement between the Nigerian government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities. The ministry in the statement urged the public and all stakeholders to disregard any misinterpretations and to note that the federal government's commitment to resolving issues with ASUU remains firm under the Renewed Hope agenda. After saying it, you are now saying that they should disregard the public for misinterpretation, for misrepresentation. Didn't you hear what he said? Did he mince words there? He said they have never signed any agreement with ASUU. Honestly, anybody who cannot see that the lies of this government, the propaganda and lies of this government has reached a level where every Nigerian should reject them, I don't know what is wrong with such a person. How can a whole government of a nation be lying to its citizens in this disgraceful manner? If Nigeria does not end the APC will end Nigeria. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to that update on the massive defections of APC members from APC in Zamfara state began making the rounds. Look at how the papers reported it. Senator Marafa dumps APC, says Tinubu is a use and dump leader. Former Zamfara Central Senator Kabiru Garba Marafa, who served as Zamfara State Coordinator of the Tinubu Shetima Campaign Organization in the 2023 presidential election, has announced his resignation from the All Progressive Congress. The decision followed a two-day meeting of the Senator Kabiru Marafa Consultative Forum, which drew supporters from all 14 local government areas of Zamfara State. The meeting, held in Kaduna on August 27 and 28, 2025, deliberated on the worsening security, political, and developmental challenges in Zamfara. At the end of the meeting, the forum issued a communique signed by its chairman, Comrade Bashir Muhammad Marafa, Secretary Dr. Manuel Bature Safe, and several other members. The communique recalled that under Marafa's coordination, Tinubu won the 2023 presidential election in Zamfara. At the peak of the campaign, Marafa had assured Tinubu that there was no need to visit Zamfara as he would deliver the state's votes, a promise he fulfilled. However, the group expressed regret that despite this loyalty and contribution, Zamfara State has allegedly suffered neglect under Tinubu administration. The communique highlighted several grievances. The forum decried the escalating insecurity in Zamfara, citing recent reports that the state topped the list of kidnappings nationwide in 2024. Out of 4,722 recorded abductions across Nigeria, Zamfara accounted for 1,203 cases. In just 1 week after by-election, 25 villages were reportedly attacked, with 145 people kidnapped and 21 killed. It condemned what it described as the use of security forces to secure electoral victory for the APC in Kaura Namoda by-election, while failing to protect lives in the same communities devastated by banditry. Unlike other states affected by insecurity, where Tinubu personally intervened with visits and financial aid, Zamfara has allegedly been ignored, leaving victims without federal support. After exhaustive consultations and a critical review of prevailing circumstances, the forum resolved as follows: that the entire political structure of Senator Kabiru Garba Marafa across the 147 wards of Zamfara State has formally resigned from the APC in protest against sustained injustice, mistrust, marginalization, and deliberate neglect of the state and its people. Serves you right. Thank you very much, Tinubu, for neglecting this man. He mobilized all the rigging machineries in Zamfara. He said Tinubu should not even bother coming to Zamfara State, that he will deliver the state. And he delivered it. Now Zamfara is topping the list of the most insecure states in Nigeria. Bruno Meduguri was the one reigning before Tinubu came, but Zamfara overtook them. Even those figures they quoted are not even the real figures. If they present to you the real figures of kidnappings and the killings in Zamfara, you will bow. Their farmers in each community, each local government area had to pay 56 million to bandits before they could, return to their farms for the planting season. That is the situation of Zamfara State. You saw a man that didn't have what it takes, but you supported him by all means. Maybe you were looking for one big appointment. Now the appointment you didn't get, and your state has become a heaven for killings. And this tweet here by the ancestor says, "Na so them go dump Wike and Umahi." That is it. I am very sure of that. And this tweet here says, "The tide is about to start erupting as we move towards 2027. ADC is the party, whatever or whichever party you decide to choose. It is not a problem. We are trying to get out this incompetent government. But we have to replace incompetence with competence, not with a product of tribal bigotry, not with a product of religious fanaticism. That is where another problem lies. You already had Buhari for 8 years, and I love the way some northerners acknowledge that. Some of the biggest northerners who are obedient on X, that is what they always tell their fellow northerners. We have had the man that we regarded as our best for 8 years, Buhari. So what are we talking about here? It is time to begin to look at a man who can perform. Now, one of the grievances of Marafa there was the fact that Tinubu has not visited Zamfara State. But we have a Peter Obi who has visited Zamfara, who has visited Katsina, who has visited victims in Borno, Meduguri. There is hardly a state that has been hit by insecurity or natural disasters in this country that His Excellency Peter Obi has not paid a visit and donated, even when he has not occupied the office of the president yet. This is what we are telling Nigerians. At this point in this country, we must go beyond these aboriginal sentiments of tribe and religion that have not helped us in any way. We must begin to come together to look for how we can get this country out of this present situation. And it starts by us casting aside our sentiments and uniting to get the APC out of power. But until then, make I still enter town, make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because of una, na I dey here. So don't go away. Don't go away.